Hello rail fans, Railfan Dylan here. I'm your host, Dylan McKevitt, and today I'm at the Pennsylvania Trolley Museum where I'm a member and volunteer, and today I will be talking about the history behind the one and only car 1713, aka the Terrible Trolley. It was built in 1949 by the St. Louis Car Company for Pittsburgh Railways and later Port Authority. Then it last ran in the city of Pittsburgh in 1998. And in 1980, a 9-year-old girl wrote a letter to Mayor Richard Caligari saying that since we have a terrible tower, we should have a streetcar called the Terrible Trolley. So he sent that letter to Port Authority, where they took action right away and painted the car. The car rolled out just in time for Super Bowl 14, which when we walk to the front, you'll see there's a 14 on the front of the car. It continued to run as the Terrible Trolley until it was repainted in 1988. And it ran until 1998. There's a 14 on the front. Go in. In 2022, a news reporter from KK's Fan Nation reached out to the museum about the car after seeing a picture online. We got some information for him, for the archives, for him to share. And later in 2023, we found out that this car still existed in a private collection. A guy had bought the car in hopes to fully restore the car and run it on his own electric railway, which never happened. He had just sold the land and building it was in. We talked to him. We bought the car, trucked it down to the museum where we fast-tracked its restoration so it'd be done in time for this year for the draft here in Pittsburgh. This car took us a little over 2 years to fully restore. Most restorations take 5 to 10 years or more, but we got this done in a little over 2 years. And it's an amazing car. It's a good running car. They did a good job. And we rolled this out back in August of 2025, and this car has been running pretty much every day for the public since the museum has been open. Pittsburgh used to have 600 miles of streetcar track. Back in 1918, they had 99 trolley routes and used 2,000 trolley cars, and Pittsburgh was the third city to have the third largest fleet of PCC streetcars. Pittsburgh had 666 PCC cars, and just like 4004, when I showed you the stop request cord, this one has it as well. This car is what you call a Super 17. It's car 1713. It was one of the Super 17s. Pittsburgh Railways in 1948, 1949 placed an order for 25 Super 17s. They were numbered from 1700 to 1725. We actually have two of those Super 17s. We have car 1713 and sister car 1711. And they're both a part of the Super 17s. The Super 17s were equipped with special running gear, spare trolley pole mounted in a bracket on the roof, luggage bag right here, which 1713 doesn't have. I don't think it ever had one, but they were special equipped to run on the lines from Pittsburgh out to Washington and Charleroi. Let's get one last look at the outside of the car. And there you go.
Dear Mr. City Promoter, my name is Kim Seaver and I am 9 years old. And I had this idea that maybe the city could have a trolley painted black and gold that says the terrible trolley. If the city doesn't have the money for a new trolley, you should just paint one of the old trolleys black and gold, okay? Okay, Kim. Kim is here with us today with her family. She came all the way from New Jersey. Kim, would you like to say a few words?
Hey everybody, I want to start by saying thank you to the great people at the Trolley Museum who made this possible. I'm completely amazed that this has happened. I never knew that it was my letter that actually caused the terrible trolley to become reality, and now 45 years later, here we are. This is so awesome. I wasn't even a huge fan of football at the time. I thought the coolest thing about the Steelers was that Lynn Swan did ballet on Mr. Rogers' jersey today, and the fight song was a polka, which we just heard. So in Pittsburgh, you don't have to know about football to understand that it's a really big deal. And after Myron Cope invented the terrible towel, it seemed like everything in Pittsburgh started becoming the terrible version of itself. We had the terrible awning, the terrible trash can, the terrible telephone pole. And so I thought, why not a terrible trolley? And I asked my grandma about it, and she said I should write a letter to the mayor, so I did. And all this time later, here we are. So this is such a great Pittsburgh moment. It's really started as a little kid with a big idea that was inspired by the community's love for the Steelers, and now it's been brought full circle by this amazing team who brought it all back to life. So thank you to the Trolley Museum, and thank you to everyone who came out to see the trolley ride again today.
Thank you, Kim. So happy you are here with us to celebrate this. You can see Kim's original letter, which we have in our archives, displayed in our terrible trolley display in our history gallery, so please check it out before you leave today. The recipient of Kim's letter, the Mr. City Promoter, was none other than Mayor Richard Caligiuri. Mayor Caligiuri was a popular and influential person, a visionary and a Renaissance man behind Pittsburgh's second Renaissance that saw massive urban improvements after our region's manufacturing losses. I was a young person at that time, and I remember those times, and Mayor Caligiuri breathed life into the city. I am honored that his son, David Caligiuri, as mentioned, is here with us today. David?